So today I've got the Dolce Gabbana Blueberry Nutri Tint, which is a skin tint, and I've also got the brand new limited edition Hourglass Ambient Lighting Palette. So I'm going to be showing you this today on my face, on my full face, but also yesterday I tested this out against the Lisa Eldridge skin tint because I have been hearing this is as good as, if not better, which I really would like to see if it's true because I love the Lisa Eldridge one. So you'll see me trying this one on today, but you'll also see footage of me yesterday trying it on side by side with Lisa Eldridge, so you can decide what you think about which one is best. And I will be trying the Hourglass palette on my face and also using it on my eyes to see if I can get a sort of full face effect from this. I will also show you some comparisons with the two blushes which have actually been in previous palettes which I have, so I can show you if they look exactly the same or not. So I'm excited to get on with this. And if you're new here, my name is Hannah, I'm 47, I'm not a professional, I'm just somebody who really loves makeup, and I like to review makeup here on my channel and to show you looks that I'm enjoying and talk about products. If you think that's something you'd enjoy, I'd love it so much if you liked and subscribed. And if you could comment below, that's super helpful to my channel as well. And if you want to know about my skin, I've got fair to light, neutral undertone skin, mostly dry combination skin, but I do get an oily T-zone, which is a new thing for me. Anyway, let's get on to this video. So before I get on with this, I'm going to put some of my Danessa Myricks water powder serum on, which I've been using pretty much daily since I got it. I used this recently when I reviewed all of my skin tints, and I found that putting this, particularly in my T-zone, prevented any oils from coming through. And this worked on every skin tint in my collection. And skin tints do tend to make me quite oily as the day goes on, but using this prevented it. So this has really become my sort of wonder product, probably my purchase of the year in many ways, because I'm not having to powder hardly anything since buying this. It's working on just about everything for me. It mattifies, but it still allows radiance. It just gives you that sort of mattified surface. It doesn't get rid of pores, so that's something you need to think about, but really is very good. I don't need to use it so much on the outer edges of my face, just here really. So while that's drying down, we can look at this skin tint. So this is £43 and it comes in 30 shades. I got the lightest, which is 1N. The next neutral, 5N, just looked a little bit too dark. I do have a bit of tan on at the moment, so you might think this looks a bit light on me, but I'm not prepared to buy two shades for summer and winter. I'm going to make them work because I'm testing out so many of these at the moment. Just buying two is just a bit too expensive for me. So I'm going to stick with my more natural shade for me, which I think is 1N, but I think it's quite a flexible shade, which you'll see when I try this on. So this offers 24 hours of hydration according to their website and gives a healthy skin glow with sheer to buildable coverage and a blurring effect. It says that it's a fresh formula which feels breathable throughout wear, and it's infused with blueberry from Salento to enhance the skin's radiance and glyceryl glycoside for hydration. So lots of skincare. Blueberry is not something I'm familiar with in skincare. This seems a bit new, but anyway, let's see how this goes. And it's described as a water in oil structure. So the packaging is beautiful. I really do like this packaging a lot. And it's got this very fine nib on the end. So I'm going to start on this side of the face. We can see how well it might correct my redness and maybe give me a bit of coverage. So straight away it's extremely hydrating. It does feel like skincare. You get that sort of hydrating skincare feel. And there you can see it is definitely cancelling out some of my redness there. The coverage is extremely light, I'd say. And you can see here with my shade, even though it's quite light, being a skin tint, they are always quite flexible, so I think your sort of natural skin tone comes through. So there's one side of my face with the tint on. So you can see how it's definitely corrected quite a bit of redness when you look at the other side of my face without it on. And I was using my Rapha BO2 brush, which recently launched, which I'm really enjoying for skin tints. This has become my favourite brush for skin tints. Now on this side I'm going to try this with my fingers because that's how Lisa recommends applying her skin tint, and it definitely worked when I tested it out, so I'm going to try that. And straight away this doesn't feel anything like the Lisa Eldridge one, it's a lot thicker. I'll show you that on the back of my hand actually. Well, it is runny, but it's just nowhere near as runny as the Lisa Eldridge. This is how it looks on the back of my hand. I should have done this at the beginning, but anyway I'm showing you now so you can see how this looks. And I'll just show you the Lisa Eldridge actually on the other side. So here's the Lisa Eldridge. Well, this is running at the same speed, which might give the impression they're the same, but it's not. This is just lighter. The Dolce Gabbana is thicker and has more of a sort of powdery feel, whereas with Lisa's it just feels like skincare straight away. So this hand here is the Lisa Eldridge side and this hand here is the Dolce & Gabbana. I think you can see there's a bit more coverage coming with the Dolce & Gabbana, isn't there? Excuse my tan, it's not very good on my hands. But yeah, it's definitely more of a, it's already dried down as well, the Dolce Gabbana, which means I need to hurry up with this because it does dry down. It just doesn't work with my hand. I'm switching straight to brush because it really does not work. I hope I haven't made a mistake there blathering on when I should have been putting this in, because it really is quite different in the way that it feels drying. Well, that it dries down. You can definitely feel the powder in the formula. No, it does feel like skincare, but it's a much more powdery skincare compared to Lisa Eldridge. It's actually holding on to a little bit of dry skin I've got there. So at the moment I'm thinking if you've got very dry skin you might not like this, and you definitely prefer the Lisa Eldridge because it's not quite as hydrating. And it is sticking to a little bit of dryness I've got there, only a tiny bit. I'll put a tiny bit on both my cheeks now to try and get a bit more coverage to see if it is buildable, which it says it is. So if you can see here my sun mark here, let's see if it can cover that up a bit. No, I'd say that that is buildable, isn't it? Because that has definitely given me more coverage. So it is buildable, which for a skin tint is pretty good. And it still feels, it does feel lightweight, it doesn't feel heavy on the skin, it really doesn't. It just has that slightly more powdery feel, like I said, but not heavy. I do feel like it needs to be pressed in. I don't know if you can see, but you can just sort of see it sitting on the surface of my skin a bit, especially around my nose area. So I'm going to pat it all in now with a sponge, and as I do that it's taken a bit of the excess off and I've lost a bit of the coverage straight away, but I feel like it needs it, to be honest. Now when I tried this out yesterday against the Lisa Eldridge I didn't notice it sitting badly on the surface of my skin, but I am starting to notice that a bit on my nose today, so I don't know why. I think we need to see how this looks when I've finished all my makeup, because I don't remember seeing that yesterday, but maybe it's just a question of warming up and melting into my skin, which is often the case. So there's both sides of my face with this skin tint on. It's definitely given me a light coverage. I wouldn't say it goes higher than light. Very lightweight, very comfortable. Just slightly clung to dryness there, but I'm going to reserve judgment on that because I didn't get that yesterday. And on my nose I just feel like I can see a bit of redness peeking through, but I'm going to see what happens. We'll see how this looks when I've got the rest of my makeup on. I'll just go off camera and finish all of my base. I'm going to powder pretty much all of my face because I'll be applying the Hourglass on top, so I need to. So we'll see how all of this is looking. But I think you can see a little bit of radiance, not as much as the Lisa Eldridge, but you can see a bit of radiance peeking through. I think it is skin-like. I like it at the moment. What do you think? So I've gone on and done some concealer. I've also used a bit of cream bronzer and a little bit of cream contour to give my colour bring some colour back to my cheeks to match the rest of my face. And I've powdered down pretty much my whole face, not a lot, just a bit, because I wanted to keep some of the sort of radiance coming through from the skin tint, which I think it's doing quite nicely at the moment. And now I'm going to move on to the Hourglass new limited edition palette. So here it is. And rather than swatching this here for you now, I actually swatched this yesterday in more natural sunlight. So I will show you that clip now and explain a bit more about the product. So this is a limited edition, cruelty-free and vegan palette. It's got 5.6 grams and it costs £67. And to put that in context with the holiday palettes, which have 6 shades in, the holiday palette is 86. So there's a £19 difference, but you're getting 2 less powders. And there is no finishing powder in this. It just has highlighter, 2 blushes and a bronzer. And at the moment it seems to be exclusive to Selfridges. And if you're a collector, you probably already have these if you buy all of their palettes anyway, because these are not new shades, unfortunately. But if you're not a full collector, this could be a perfect start, because these really are excellent shades, especially for summer. And this can do your whole face pretty much, because you have, here's your highlight, bronze and the 2 different types of blush. So I think this is a beautiful option. If you're new to Hourglass, this could be quite a good introduction for you. I think a lot of people would enjoy this. I don't know if it would work on really deep skin tones though, with the bronzer being this light. That's the only problem. But you never know, they might release a few more limited editions. Maybe this is the first of many, we don't know. But if I hear anything, I'll certainly let you know. So out of these 4, the only ones I have in my collection is I've got both of these blushes, which I'll show you now so you can just see if there's any difference. So if you look at this lighter one here, so this one is Dim Infusion, and I've actually got this in a standalone palette. So here it is in the standalone. So there they are together. Not really much difference, but maybe the new one's showing a little bit more colour. A minuscule difference. So obviously if you already have the one I've got, you would not need this one. And then the deeper one is called Iridescent Rose, and this is it from the new limited edition palette. And I have this in the Tiger palette, which released not last year but the year before. So here it is there. So here is the one from the Tiger palette. And one thing I did notice when I swatched this yesterday is I feel like the new one is a tiny bit more corally. I don't know what you think. It's a very small difference, but it does seem a little bit more corally to me. There's a minute difference, which is good for me, because now I don't have 2 identical blushes, but it's a very small difference. And I do think with these Hourglass palettes that they can always be a little bit different anyway, because the sort of ratio of pink to white can alter in every single palette. So like if you look here, if you look at the snake, you can see here how they're just slightly different. Maybe the snake has a little bit more of the white powder in it than pink, I don't know. And I've also heard that this bronzer was in the Unlocked palette, which I don't have, and the highlight was in the Leopard and the Butterfly palette, both of which I don't have. So if you have those, then you already have these in your collection. These are all in the ambient lighting formula, so they're not going to have a shimmery finish. There's none of those strobe powders that you do get in some of the face palettes. So I'm going to use the Snake brush, which I got with my last face palette, funnily enough the Snake palette. So I'm going to go into the bronzer with this. I do like this brush. It's a little bit big, but if you want to just take this, I used this when I went away actually. It's quite good if you're going on holiday. Take the face palette, take this brush and use this brush for all 6 powders. It does work. It doesn't give you the complete precision when it comes to highlighter, but it does work. So I'm putting this on now, and I do have a bit of cream bronzer underneath, so I don't really need to develop an awful lot of colour. I don't think this shade is particularly too warm for me. I do like to wear cool toned bronzers, but I don't think it's too warm. I think it's just nice actually. It's giving that sort of sun-kissed glow. And as with all of these powders, they just really do sit so beautifully. And you do get that sort of luminosity from them. They are very, very good powders, aren't they? I'll take some up here. An advantage of using this brush is I'm not picking up too much product and it's distributing it nice and softly for me, which is what I want. But these powders don't tend to go on in a patchy way anyway, they are very user friendly. So now I'm going to go into Iridescent Rose using the same brush. I'm not really going to remove the bronzer, I'm just going to use it the way I have used it before. So this is the deepest of the two blushes. You can see that I can just about get away with applying this deep shade on me, especially using this brush. That's a really gorgeous shade actually. I'm just tapping the brush off on the back of my hand before going into the other blush. So going into Dim Infusion. And this is actually one I pulled out recently because I really enjoy this one. Still got quite a lot of pigment this one, even though it is a lighter blush. It's given off a lot of colour for me. I did not get much on the brush there at all. So there's the two of them. I think I definitely prefer this one, but I do like both of them. But I will add a little bit of the Iridescent Rose onto this side now just to even things up so I don't look strange. So going into the Celestial Strobe Light, and I'm using my Sonia G fan brush here. This one is really quite an impactful one. It's not a subtle one, but it's not terrible at showing up texture. I think the Hourglass finish is just, as it's described, an ambient glow. So it's quite a big glow, but it's not a glow that is bad for mature skin in my opinion. Beautiful, I really like it. And this is one I haven't tried before. So it's nice to have a new highlight shade from Hourglass in my collection. This palette really is perfect for summer, it really is. That is beautiful. Really, really beautiful. Take a bit down the nose. So there we go. That's the whole palette on my face. But I'm going to try it out in the eyes because I like to see if I can get my money's worth out of these palettes. I've got my Rapha 01 Mini and I'm going to go into the bronzer. It's going to be a very simple look. I'm not going to make an awful lot of effort. I'm going to take this into my crease and outer V. And with the Rapha 03, I'll just run this underneath as well. And with my Rapha 02, I'm taking Iridescent Rose. I'm going to take this across the whole of my lid. And using my finger, I'm going into the highlight, and I'm going to take this basically across the whole of the lid too, because I don't really want a pink shade. I don't think pinks suit me very much, so I'm going to take this more as a topper. I think that's so intense you can't see the pink anymore, but anyway. That's really what I prefer. I'd rather go with the bronze and the highlight on the eyes anyway. I just wanted to show you what the blush looked like on the eyes. But pink is not a shade. Certainly these shades of pink, they just don't work very well on me. I quite like that. It's a real summer golden glow sort of eye look, isn't it? And using the Rapha 3 brush, taking this for the inner corner and underneath the brows. I'll just quickly go off camera and finish my makeup and we can talk about how this palette has worked on my face. So here is my final look. I just added a little bit of brown eyeliner and mascara and some lipstick. I think this gives a beautiful summer sort of sun-kissed glow. I particularly love it on the eyes actually. Now I've added mascara, I think it is stunning on the eyes. This highlight is probably the standout from the entire thing for me, but I do think the whole set is just perfect. So I might have tan on my neck, but I didn't have any tan on my face. So I've added obviously that little bit of bronzer, but I think it's just overall given me, when I say bronzer, I mean the cream bronzer I added before I started, but overall now it's given me that sun-kissed golden glow, which I really, really like. This is a perfect palette for summer. So if you don't have any of these Hourglass ones, I would definitely recommend trying this one because you're going to pay a bit less than you do for the ones you get at Christmas, even though you don't get the 2 finishing powders, which often come in those. Not always. Sometimes you might get 3 blushes and 2 bronzers. They seem to mix them up all the time, but I think this is a really good set. I think it's sometimes when you get the 6 you might think there's 2 you won't use as well, but I think if you get this one you would genuinely want to use all 4 regularly, because that, I think that's really nice, and I love the way I can get that to work on my eyes, so really really good. So yeah, nothing new, but if you don't have those shades I would recommend it, because you can't go wrong with the Hourglass formula. Absolutely stunning, really really like it. I'd love to know what you think. Would you be picking this up? Are you an Hourglass collector? Have you already got these? Do you already use them? I'd really like to hear from you what you think there. And now looking at the skin tint, so I think now with the rest of my makeup on, everything looks absolutely fine. Like I said, I didn't powder too much there, so you can see a bit of radiance coming through. I think it's given me really nice coverage. I mean, it is a little bit too pale for me, this shade, with my tan, so you can still see my chin looks a little bit too white, even though I did try and get the bronzer on. So I probably do need to go up to that, was it T5? 5N. I was thinking of Lisa Eldridge. Yeah, 5N. I probably need 5N for my summer shade. So like I said, I'm not prepared to buy both at the moment, but if you're a skin twin, for me, I would probably go for that if you are a bit darker for the summer. But if not, it's probably fine. But it is quite a light one, going for the very first one shade. But yeah, I will show you now the footage from yesterday where I did a final check-in, so you can see what the longevity and the 8-hour wear test is of this skin tint. But you also can see what it's like alongside the Lisa Eldridge, so here's that footage for you. Hi everyone, so this is me from yesterday, and I am wearing the Lisa Eldridge skin tint, and I'm wearing the new Dolce & Gabbana skin tint as well, one on each side. Before I tell you which side, can you tell any difference? Can you guess which side might be which? I'm guessing your answer is going to be no. I'd be surprised if it isn't, because I can't see any difference myself. So when I heard that the Dolce & Gabbana one is as good, if not better, than Lisa Eldridge, I really had my doubts, because the Lisa Eldridge one has gone straight to #1 for me quite easily. And I'm certainly not going to say it's better, because it's extremely minimal, but the only thing I would say is my pores and redness this side is a bit better than this side. It's a little bit more visible, pores and redness on this side. I've forgotten to turn my magnification mirror light on. Off, sorry. Tiniest bit smoother around there, which is probably the area where I've got the most texture, most visible pores and most redness. So the most perfected side is there, but it's so minimal. And if you haven't guessed, that's the Lisa Eldridge side. But I mean, we're talking like 1% difference here, we really are. I'm being really nitpicky, and I stared for quite a long time into the magnification mirror. If you're going to look at oils coming through, I would probably say the Lisa Eldridge side is definitely stickier. Can you see there's more of a shine on this side than there is on this side? So I'm getting more of a sort of matte finish with the Dolce & Gabbana, which sort of suggests from a longevity point of view that the Dolce & Gabbana is better. My chin looks a bit red here, both sides, there's no difference, and that's because I've just had spaghetti and well, say no more. So I think that I might be able to say that these are a draw actually. I think they might actually be as good as each other. Obviously I need to use the Dolce & Gabbana one more, and in this video I will have just applied it all over the face, so I will have another impression of it again for you today. But talking with my very first impressions now, I'm really pleased with that. There's no caking. I've looked under the 10 times magnification, there's no caking anywhere, and this is now after 8 hours wear. It's looking fantastic everywhere, and it's a bit less greasy, so I wouldn't need to powder it down, whereas this side does feel a bit tacky. Only by there. I don't know why just by there, because the rest of my face is okay. I've got my Danessa Myricks serum on, which locks in the moisture, so it's always quite good at controlling my nose, but I did put it on my forehead. So it's extremely minimal, just a little bit of tackiness there and that's it. I feel my face all over, feels about the same. Maybe it's just a coincidence this, you know, I don't know. But for feeling like my skin is perfected, I think Lisa slightly gets the edge. I definitely wouldn't say the Dolce Gabbana is better. I'd love to know what you think. Do you see any differences between the Dolce side and the Lisa side? I really don't see it. So there we go, they're both fantastic. So you can see there that I was basically delighted with this skin tint, but I do have a few thoughts today having tried it on its own. As you noticed when I applied this, I didn't think the coverage was sitting, I didn't think it was sitting very nicely on my nose, and I was wondering if it would work. Now you can see that that's absolutely fine, but that only changed when I added my concealer, and I've also been using a very creamy contour stick at the moment, which I think, I could see it actually, as I applied it, it just blended all of that out. So I think it just needed that much more product and maybe a little bit more of a hydrating product on top. So that is why my nose worked. I think if I'd have worn this skin tint on its own, it wouldn't have worked as nicely and it wouldn't have looked as good. I think it just left a little bit of redness on my nose. Whereas Lisa Eldridge, I can put it all over my face and feel like I've got a totally perfected face with doing nothing else. So if I just want to use it and do nothing else and have perfected skin for the day, I get that with Lisa Eldridge. I don't feel I'm getting that with this Dolce & Gabbana one. So if you're going to be adding concealers and everything, I think it looks as good as Lisa Eldridge when you've done that. If you want to have that sort of multi-use where you can just quickly throw it on and apply it with your hands as well and just have that really quick perfected look, you will definitely get that with the Lisa Eldridge one, but I'm not getting that with the Dolce & Gabbana one. So I wouldn't say at all it's a fail. I think it's beautiful. There's no caking at the end of the day, which is a massive one for me. It sits beautifully. It's up there with one of the best, definitely. I definitely say it is, because it really sits beautifully on my skin and it wears beautifully as well. So it is excellent, but it is a little bit more drying. It's not quite as beautiful and natural as Lisa's. So no, it has not knocked Lisa off top spot for me, and I would not call them equal. So I've slightly changed my mind on that, but overall I think it's lovely. There's also a slight price difference. The Lisa Eldridge is $37 and this one is $43, so worth noting it's a little bit cheaper going for Lisa and a bit better in my opinion. So overall I've really enjoyed this look. Obviously the standout for me has been the Hourglass palette, which I've really enjoyed. I just love this look, I really do. I can't believe it's actually my eyes that I'm loving the most. This highlighter is absolutely incredible. So you could look at this, whether they've got it as a standalone. Did I say they had it as a standalone? I did write it down. If you have the leopard or the butterfly, you have this highlighter. I don't have those, so I'm so pleased I've got that because it is gorgeous. Definitely going to be using that on my eyes again, you know. Definitely thinking this is my holiday palette. I'm always working out which one am I taking for holiday, but wow, this is a good one to take, isn't it? Anyway, that's all from me for today. I would love to hear what you think of everything I've tried on today. Will you be picking up either of these? Have you already picked them up? I would love to hear from you. And if you've enjoyed this video, I'd like it so much if you liked and subscribe below. And if you're already subscribed, thank you so much for returning. And I hope to see all of you again for my next video. Take care everybody, bye!